Okay, I should be live right now. So, I know that I'm sporadic in these episodes of Strike Force News, but here I am back at it again, grounding the bit, and today I'm going to be talking about California's man made power outages. And also more news. Chick-fil-A and them ending their donations to anti-gay, anti-abortion groups. Well, actually, the article there actually says gay and transgender rights groups, more specifically. Okay, if for some reason I thought I remembered abortion groups as well, but no, it just seems to be LGBT groups. Just that. Biden apparently coming out as opposing marijuana in the hopes of gaining some political traction in the presidential election. Sad, really. Police shoot the man who done the terrorist knife attack in London Bridge. Some political traction in the presidential election. Sad, really. Hold on a second. I'm noticing that my volume is low as crap. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Seems to be half decent now. Alright. I'm just going to continue on. I'm just doing the announcements, but yeah, I guess just to start over very quickly. California man-made power outages, Chick-fil-A ending donations to LGBT groups, Biden coming out as anti-weed for political traction, and police shooting the man who done the terrorist knife attack on the London Bridge. I've only heard about this attack right here. I did not read so much about it, but we shall research it ourselves for right now, and more specifically this little sub-story about it. Man who done the terrorist knife attack on the London. Still not very loud, but whatever. And hopefully we'll get some co-hosts to join us, but so far we have none that have come on yet. And of course talking about House investigating if Trump lied to Mueller in written testimony. So these are some old articles actually that I found it like a few weeks ago. I meant to get to them a lot sooner, but me being the slow ass I am, and things being busy with Thanksgiving and whatnot, it's just been rather pitiful as far as scheduling goes. No, not interested in that. Yes, talking about the Trump impeachment at the end of this show as well, hopefully. But yeah, about this story about California man-made power outages, or more specifically, what I'm getting from the article, and I've read it just very briefly, is it's being like government, government infused, or if that's even the right word, government caused power outages, more specifically. And I heard this from Don, the pleb of Two Plebs Talk News, and I wanted to get to this story a lot sooner, but unfortunately I just kept on putting it off and putting it off. And so this story is like a few weeks old, actually it's almost 2 months old, actually, looking down there where it says October 11th, 2019. And I'm not seeing the displayer for my stream so far. That is unfortunate. That is one thing about streaming with OBS, is that I cannot immediately see the browser so that I can like shill it in groups. Maybe I should do the news streams with just StreamYard. But anyway, I'm getting kind of rambly. So I heard this from Don the Pleb. I meant to get to it a lot sooner, a lot earlier when it was like hot and fresh, despite it being about 2 months old, this whole story here being, I'm still wanting to read it because I feel like that it's still very relevant because of the fact that, it being government induced, it seems. And it would still serve as a prime anecdote, a prime example of government abuse when it comes to the economy and so forth. And hello, Lonely Wolf, who is the first person in the chat so far. Okay. So, a Lonely Wolf, since that you're in the chat, mind if I ask you, like, why is it that you, left my Discord, if you don't mind me, asking? Anyway. So, Californians are mired in a conundrum of conflicting goals to accommodate its growing population. Its growing number of registered vehicles, the need for more housing to accommodate its growth, and the unrestricted growth of its forests where much of the housing is encroaching. The public has strongly supported Obama-era regulations, which were a major rewrite of the country's forest rules and guidelines. Those rewrites introduced excessive layers of bureaucracy that blocked proper forest management and increased environmentalist litigation and costs. A result of far too many radical environmentalists, bureaucrats, leftist politicians, and judicial activists. Rather than allow utilities to have right-of-way control for their grid into the forests, the public has also allowed so-called environmentalists who have a very narrow view of nature, who don't understand that without proper land management, which means an appreciable amount of logging, they are hurting wildlife and the long-term health of the forest, as well as endangering human lives. One second here. Going to see if the browser for my stream. Okay, there it is. One second here, folks. One second here. Alright, so. Alright, there it is. It's shared in my Discord for anyone who is interested. And I'm going to share it in some Twitter group chats as well. Particularly for the more interesting parts of the stream. The more interesting parts, in my opinion, being like the part being about California's power outages primarily. Wanna show it before I am done with it. Anyway. So, continuing on. Supporters of current environmental regulations would rather see forests burn than let professional loggers with forest management experience thin out overgrown trees, harvest usable timber left from beetle infestation, or selectively cut timber. I think I'm on S-Man's Discord. Yeah, but I'm not on S-Man's Discord server, Lonely Wolf, so I don't know if S-Man would be able to give you a link to my Discord server or not, but maybe that's something that I ought to talk to him about. But anyway, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and share this in Dawn's Discord server as well, because this is a particular story that would interest them, I would think. And you know what? Let's do it in Nate's Discord server as well. And you know, I say as well a little bit too much in my own personal opinion. Alright, so I think that is but yeah, so as to what I just, you know, I'm just gonna restart those two paragraphs actually. Rather than allow utilities to have right-of-way control for their grid into the forests, the public has also allowed so-called environmentalists who have a very narrow view of nature, who don't understand that without proper land management, which means an appreciable amount of logging, they are hurting wildlife and the long-term health of the forest, as well as endangering human lives. Supporters of current environmental regulations would rather see forests burn than let professional loggers with forest management experience thin out overgrown trees, harvest usable timber left from beetle infestation, or selectively cut timber. You know what? That is kind of a funny thing. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's just one side, but some people on the left like to say that it's mostly just one side. The right, that they would be referring to anyways, that would be hurting the environment. But in a lot of ways, yeah, this would be an example of the left's policies, what the left advocates, rather, the American left more specifically, is hurting the environment inadvertently and ironically as well. I lost my Twitter because of memeing Nick Fuentes, so I'm not really in Twitter groups, lol, but I started a new Twitter. Lonely Wolf, I don't know if you read my YouTube comment reply to you underneath your video, but as far as I know, you're still on Twitter. I mean, I see your account is still there. I go to view your Twitter account and it shows that you're still there. It doesn't show account suspended to me or anything like that, so it's weird. And hello, Neil Stone in the chat. Welcome to Strike Force. So, Now with people and a rail, excuse me, a little bit tongue-tied here. Now with people and electricity moving into the forests, the widespread support of Obama, the wide, the widespread support of Obama-era regulations has resulted in the new normal, in the new, in the new normal, an endless and devastating fire season. The resulting fires are cauldron hot conflagrations that exterminate wildlife habitats and roast bald eagle and spotted owl fledglings alive in their nests. And you know that is actually another side of looking at this. I mean, it only makes sense. It is not just freaking emissions and the earth allegedly getting hotter that would be causing all these wildfires. It would also be because of dead timber and not being allowed to collect up that timber or the dead trees or whatever else have you. You know, lumber, that kind of sort of thing. The lumber and forestry industry being able to do its business. California being California, I guess. Those infernos are so hot they boil away trout and trout streams, leave surviving animals to starve. They incinerate every living organism in already thin soils that subsequently get washed away during future downpours and snow melts. Areas incinerated by such fires don't recover their arboreal biodiversity for decades. So much for a reliable electrical grid surviving in the unrestricted growth of the nation's forests. The unintended consequences of restricted forest management, proper maintenance of the current grid, and the unlimited lawsuits that arise from fires tied to the grid is that corporate America, PG&E, and others are caught between a rock and a hard place. To minimize those lawsuits, it's better to eliminate the potential causes of those fires from winds by just turning off the power. Or at least, I think what they're saying is in accordance to their own logic. Anyways, I am an environmentalist, but I understand that capitalism would be better for the environment, says Neil Stone. Alright, cool. The chat is pretty slow for right now, but as soon as the chat starts to pick up, that is gonna be when that I'll start to more ignore it. But anyway, utility companies are granted general authority by the California Public Utilities Commission (CPUC) to periodically. Let me see StreamYard here. Okay. Nobody has come on to the stream yet, and you know what? I'm going to put a StreamYard right there so that I can like better analyze the freaking the thing right there. See if whether anybody has come on or not pops up in the corner of my eye. Utility companies, I'm just going to start over. Utility companies are granted general authority by the California Public Utilities Commission, CPUC, to periodically de-energize the grid as a preventative measure to protect public safety and maintain the grid's viability. To do this, PG&E has implemented Public Safety Power Shutoff events, PSPS, aka rolling blackouts, as a last line of defense against electric service disruption and possible harmful events to communities caused by utility equipment. Alright. Yeah. Instead of like trying to fix the I don't know. I do not know a good I don't know a good analogy to suit for this. But instead of like addressing the actual problem at hand, that being like them not being able to like to do some forestry industry, to do lumber, instead of allowing them to do their lumber industries, you're like instead of solving that problem, you're just causing another problem by not letting them do it, and ultimately, causing another problem by inducing these blackouts, by shutting off the power as supposedly a way to like slow down these wildfires. There are Australian fires across 2 states and the 2 provinces. Aren't they called provinces, Lonely Wolf? The last I checked, that's what I thought they were. And the limited koala population is being hit hard. So basically, and Neil Stone says, so basically they are leaving people without power. Yeah, leaving people without power in a way to solve a problem that they had ultimately caused in the first place. Hello, what's up, Loudmouth?
Hello,
We got Loudmouth
how's it going?
reviews, some random Loudmouth on the internet with an opinion on the Strike Force panel with us. Hello, Loudmouth.
Cool. You talking about some power outage in California, you said?
Yes,
Hello?
basically, California is not allowing their forestation industries to do their their lumberjack businesses. So therefore, instead of like allowing these lumberjack businesses to collect up the dead forestry and use it for lumber, they're just leaving it there. California regulations are just mandating that it be left there for possibly, well, obviously it's not their purpose, but inadvertently it is causing these wildfires because of dead forestry, And instead of
Not
trying to address the problem directly by allowing people to collect the dead forestry, they're trying to dial down the wildfires by shutting off the power instead.
well, that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
That,
yes. It reminds me there was a joke article the Babylon Bee did a while back that said progressive state of California first to go entirely without electricity.
all right. Um,
Is it
can
a
everybody
joke?
can everybody in the chat hear Loudmouth reviews fairly well? You
Can you
sound,
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. You just sound very quiet to me for some reason. And hello,
Ah,
Night Shift in the chat. No, we're not doing this call on Discord, Neil Stone. We're doing this call on Streamyard. I have a Streamyard Hangouts call in the background while I'm streaming this on OBS.
ah.
Hey, wait, Night Shift. You called me Dark Com. Why are you calling me a communist? Damn it. Typo though. But anyway, um, or no power for the residents and
So they're actual.
go on.
So they won't let them clear out dead trees. Is what they're saying.
Yeah, supposedly they're looking to preserve the forests by not letting them cut down any further forests, but by not allowing them to cut down some trees, they're just ultimately leaving the dead trees, the more flammable trees, up to stand.
Yeah, doesn't that kind of wouldn't letting fire destroy them also destroy the forest? That's kind of what fires do.
Mm. Instead of allowing people to like take up the foliage and just um, anyway, um, continuing on with the article though. For the residents and businesses that are left with no power, they may be going back to pioneer days when you had to fend for yourself. Thus, a huge self sufficiency incentive to provide your own electricity via diesel generators or solar panels. It's not. I mean, it could be worse. They could be like going without any electricity, like going all the way back to the 1800s, or doing coal for their freaking power source. That would
Yeah,
definitely, ironically, increase the CO2 emissions.
yeah, but you could. There's a good alternative to any carbon-producing coal, though. You could train animals to do all our products around the home via the Flintstones.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, they did have like horse-drawn mills too, like literally back in the day too, though, didn't they?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, yeah. I
well,
mean, you could
either
train
way,
elephant. You could train elephants to like squirt water to help you clean your dishes. It'd be awesome.
but any way that you spell it, it'd be like putting us back in the Stone Age, or, well, Stone Age is
Which
obviously
is exactly
hyperbole,
the
but
joke which is exactly the joke I was trying to make. Yes.
I know what you're meaning there. But anyway you spell it, it's just even with them just doing diesel generators and solar panels, it's still not quite as efficient. But I mean, well, a diesel generator that might be fairly effective, but even like back over at my parents' house, whenever our power would go out and we had a generator, I don't think it was diesel actually. I think it was regular gasoline, but that generator could not power the whole house. We only like had that generator for powering the refrigerator and a few other absolute necessities for the house, just to make sure that we have the very basic bitch essentials, but we weren't able to, like, turn on the TV or computers or any luxury items that required electricity. So even with the generator, that's still not as efficient as having the local power plant working. Fuck autocorrect, says Night Shift. Indeed. Although Dark Khan would be your evil clone. Somebody make that fanfic. Dark Khan meets his evil twin. Or something.
Dark calm, yeah.
The Dark Conservatarian versus the Dark Communist.
Yes.
Anyway.
That'd be funny.
And your evil twin would be the Quiet Mouth, although that doesn't sound as snappy.
Yeah.
Since solar does not work when the sun is not shining, which that is another issue right there when it comes to solar panels, or if there's too much smoke in the air, which that is a problem that would be caused by the freaking wildfires. So you're just causing many different problems for yourself, California, by not letting the forestry industries do their shit. The other drawbacks are greater emissions from one's diesel generators, or no power at all if your battery storage is inadequate for the duration of the utility outage. Understandably, the public perception is that the PG&E policy appears to be nothing more than a very selfish approach to protecting corporate interests at the expense of customers who cannot shop elsewhere for this vital utility, electricity. To compound the problem, the state continues its efforts to sunset the oil and gas industry, which would result in less diesel fuel for home generators. Either that, or they would have to import from out of state, which having to travel to transport that fuel into the state, that would cost more money than just making it locally. So you're kind of screwing yourselves. PG&E's decision to protect itself from liability at the expense of hard-working Californians is the tough new norm that may not be tolerated. The utility's course of action disregards people's livelihoods as we depend on electricity to maintain a certain standard of living. Millions without electricity, resulting in schools, government offices, and businesses simultaneously closing, is what a third world country looks like. Not a state that is the fifth largest economy in the world. Indeed. That's why California typically gets the nickname by Don the Pleb, the Democratic People's Republic of California.
California elected. This is what you voted for, California. Deal with it.
Yep. Sadly. And don't bring your problems, much less your agendas, with you when you go to move out.
Yeah, fuck putting a wall on the Mexican border. Put a wall on the California border.
Yeah. Employees were sent home as businesses had to shut their doors. Another problem. Less people to have money to spend on shit, so you're just stagnating the economy as a whole in that regard too. Some workers are forced to go without pay. Parents scrambled to find babysitters, raced to buy battery-operated lights, and rushed home to prepare their families in anticipation of days of darkness. This is no way to live in the United States of America. It's not even seeming recognizable as United States of living, in my opinion. Access to electricity is a necessity we have become accustomed to. The increasing amount of housing in the wildland-urban interface, by some estimates, almost half of the housing stock built in the last few years in California is largely being driven by the need to build in lower cost areas outside of the urban cores. Environmentalists are hostile to this new construction and resist policy changes that facilitate it. Instead, they'd like to see people driven off their wildland property through a combination of strict land use policies, a fire tax, and the loss of fire insurance. Loss of fire insurance? Why the fuck would you even do that? Are you like purposefully trying to punish these people by saying, oh, if you end up losing your house to a fire out in the countryside there, too bad, so sad, boo-hoo, you're not even going to be able to invest your own money into an insurance plan to make sure that you are secured in that. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, a really good time for California to be cutting fire insurance benefits. Great timing.
I mean, it's one thing for a person to be cutting welfare, you know. Um, One thing that is coercive is
If
making
an
people.
asteroid is coming
What?
towards the Earth, the next thing you need to do is cut out all meteor insurance.
Oh, that be
Uh,
unfortunate.
yes.
Also, cutting off transportation away from the Earth to get on a space station once the Earth is ablazing. You know.
Yeah.
Um, a fire taxi. Yeah, just driving people, trying to drive people off of their private property on the countryside to make them try to make them live in the cities. That's pretty damn. Well,
The California cities are miserable. They are the worst. They're hellholes.
yeah. I was about to say it's pretty damn tyrannical, but I don't know if necessarily they are force people necessarily to live in these cities, but they kind of leave them no choice through this type of government policy making and government coercion. Unless the public supports a major rewrite to those Obama era regulations of all the country's forest rules and guidelines, be prepared to live your lives off the grid, quote unquote. Okay, sorry, I just saw a text on my cell phone there.
Yeah, living off the grid sounds great. I mean, I wonder if the people at the EPA saw threads and thought, instead of a warning, this is a great guide for how to run a society.
Mm.
Yes.
Um,
Jokes. I know that was a hyperbolic joke. I'm just fucking around.
Hey, so I got a question in the chat from Pumpkin Row. He asks, "Hey Darkon," and by the way, hello Pumpkin Row. He also says, "Boom, the pumpkin is here." Beforehand, but now he's in his second chat message. He says, "Hey Darkon, what's your position on the government takeover of the internet, otherwise known as the Internet Bill of Rights?" I'm not one of those Trumpist paleocons that think that an internet bill of rights is a good idea. No, I'm totally against that in kind of the same way that I'm against COPPA, which I will have my own rant talking about COPPA come sometime in the near future. I'll be recording that sometime tomorrow. It will be coming soon, but I will flesh
Hashtag
out more of my
fuck
opinion
COPPA.
there. What?
Hashtag fuck COPPA.
Yes. Hashtag fuck COPPA. I need to just edit that into the description just for that.
Yeah, that I don't know that piece of legislation, or at least the way the FTC is going to enforce it, is really going to fuck us over, man. It could there's rumors that like hundreds of thousands of YouTube channels could be deleted next year. Oh, because of COPPA.
That hundreds of YouTube channels will be deleting their shit.
Hundreds of thousands of YouTube channels could be deleted.
Yeah. This is why that New
not
Year's
hundreds,
Eve I'm
hundreds
gonna
of
be
thousands.
privating all my shit.
I I don't know. Here's the thing. Poorly moved to do that, so and I know it's very unlikely that I would be targeted. They'd pick some random guy with a few thousand subs.
Right.
I know it's unlikely, but it's still a scary thing.
Yeah. I'm mostly wanting to I'm mostly I'm mostly wanting to private my shit just so that I can download it at all and or at least re-upload the good stuff anyways to BitChute. Some of the more obscure stuff on my channel that doesn't get watched or liked or whatnot, screw it. I don't really care. But yeah, all the good
Yeah,
stuff.
but I mean, the thing about COPPA though is it's a government action. It's not a YouTube policy. So anything that's like unacceptable on YouTube would be unacceptable on BitChute with the same law.
Well, if what Reckless Trucker and lawyer Ian Corzine are saying is true, that there's actually a third option, that there is actually an exception that COPPA makes for people, that there's a general audience exception, well then that would mean that it isn't completely the FTC's fault. Yes, I do believe that this regulation shouldn't exist at all because it still kind of sets a dangerous precedent. And on top of that, it's still kind of vague to leave open the possibility of people still getting fined for shit that's not even their fault. That being the
Yeah,
data
that's my
collection
main
of little
issue. Is
kids.
the guidelines are horribly vague, and
Yeah.
that's my biggest issue with cop. I kind of understand the law's purpose and why it's done. Yes, I know kids are impressionable and they probably shouldn't have their data harvested. Okay, I get that, but the guidelines on how this thing's enforced is a fucking mess. It
Right,
is, and it could easily be abused.
but on what I was trying to say there,
Uh,
this third exception, this exception right here, is not being emitted by YouTube. They're not giving us the general audience exception for like when we do our videos. There's only the not for kids or for kids option when it comes to ranking our channels. So part of this is arguably YouTube's fault to some extent, anyways. So you
Partially, I guess, but I have all my videos as marked not for kids because I don't consider them for kids. If I want intended kids to watch my stuff, I wouldn't cuss up a storm and make all kinds of dirty jokes on my channel. I do that because I don't want kids watching my stuff. I never have.
um okay. Lonely Wolf is making a chat comment about the article that I have pulled up right now, so I'll get to it in a little bit. Pumpkin Row, an important thing to consider regarding COPPA is that the government already owns Google and by extension YouTube, so they actually didn't need COPPA for what's to come. The reason they're pushing COPPA is for other things. I don't know if they like officially own those companies, but they do give a lot of subsidies and whatnot to where that a person could say that they quasi own them or something like that. And Neil Stone says in the chat, I have heard rumors that if YouTubers try to move to another platform, they will be punished for trying to avoid COPPA for this.
Yes,
to avoid COPPA, but this
I've
is
heard
just
the
a
same
rumor.
thing.
That is a scary thing, actually, because technically COPPA, the FTC is only cracking down on YouTube in their court case and whatnot. But arguably, there is an argument to be made that COPPA is for the entire internet. It doesn't say YouTube, just YouTube specifically. It's the
No,
internet
COPPA is
in
older than
general.
YouTube is. COPPA was passed 7 years before YouTube was founded.
Yeah, exactly. So there is an argument to be made that maybe a year later, like in 2021 or 2022, if we're lucky, that'll be when that COPPA will catch up with the rest of the entire internet to every single video uploading site, that being BitChute, and Dailymotion, and all the rest of them, Vimeo, all of them, and people will be screwed over ultimately, and that'll be the end of freelance video making and private independent media. And I
Yeah,
am
that's what it
getting a
feels
shitty
like to
connection
me,
from
and
you.
that's what is it?
Sorry, what'd you say, Loudmouth?
That's what it feels like. That's because this is government. Like when YouTube does something despicable, and a lot of people like to complain about the way YouTube is run. But what's the worst thing they can do to us? The worst thing YouTube could do to me would be to delete my channel and ban me from the site. And if they did that, yeah, I'd be bummed out. I like making my videos, but still earn a living. All right, but if the FTC were to get me some serious jacked up fine or what have you, that would really fuck up my life.
Mm. It would be a bummer because I really do like the hobby of making videos. I would have to end up just be making videos and burning them on a DVD and selling them to a store and possibly go through that media, but that's very hard to do. And Pumpkin Row in the chat says, who is gargling their microphone? What the hell?
I wouldn't bother.
Yeah,
You're breaking up, dude.
I'm breaking up. Actually, you're kind of the one breaking up, Loudmouth. We're hearing you, and it sounds like that you're gargling your microphone or something.
All right, I'm here. I'm logging off. Hold on.
Okay.
I'll try to get on my computer.
All right. See you in a bit. Hopefully, Loudmouth. Anyway, Lonely Wolf, I think I'm going to try to save your chat comment for like the end of this article right here because that's a funny chat comment. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna try to save it for when that we get people to come back on. Anyway, so moving on from the whole thing about California's man-made power outages, government-induced power outages. Let's not gripe with words. That is more precisely what it is. It's a government-induced power outage. Chick-fil-A, the next subject. Chick-fil-A to end donations to groups that oppose gay and transgender rights. So, I heard about this story and I came across this article before it really started to catch heat. And apparently I had been hearing that they did not officially and intentionally end their donations. They just forgot to renew their own donations, their contracts for donating to these anti-LGBT groups. I haven't heard anything about them ending their donations to abortion groups, and if they're not stopping their donations to anti-abortion groups, well then that I definitely approve of. And by extension, I say if they really did end their donations to anti-LGBT groups, that being the actual subject at hand here, well then I approve of that. I approve of them ending donations to these types of groups. I mean, especially if these anti-LGBT groups are advocating for laws to basically ban trans procedures, trans people from entering the military, or even gay people from entering the military, banning homosexual practices and homosexual marriage and all that other stuff. I mean, if the intention of these groups is that, and Chick-fil-A is donating to them, well, then that kind of makes it, that really makes it disapproving, in my eyes, for them to be donating to these groups. Um, and what was I gonna say? But if it's not anything legal, like if these anti-LGBT groups are not participating in anything in the legal battles when it comes to LGBT liberties, and the only thing that they're doing is trying to present their philosophy as to why that they think that being LGBT is wrong or ill-advised or whatever, well, I still kind of disapprove of the donations. But if they did end their donations, if Chick-fil-A ended their donations to these groups, even if it's just on a philosophical front, well then it's still good PR that they would be ending it. And it would be bad PR if they were to renew them, even if it's just philosophical. But that's just my opinion. And if it really is just philosophical and not legal as to what they're trying to do, well then it's not as big an issue. Um, why do people care what a private company does? Asks Neil Stone. Um, hmm. I think what people. I don't like what Chick fil A is doing, but they are a private business. I hate what they are doing, but I will defend their right to do it. Yeah, I mean, here's my thing. I think that Chick fil A has every right to donate to these groups, be it whether these groups are trying to advocate for laws against LGBT liberties or um, just saying why LGBT groups is or being LGBT is wrong. Be it either case, I think Chick-fil-A has the right to donate to these groups. I mean, obviously, I think that LGBT people have the right to do whatever practices they want to without infringement from the government. So, and by that extension, we have a right to boycott Chick-fil-A if we want to, if we feel that strongly about LGBT liberties. Although I don't think that this whole LGBT issue with Chick-fil-A has gotten so severe to where I think that I need to, prioritize the whole LGBT issue of Chick-fil-A over my occasional desire to get a chicken sandwich from them. But anyway, getting on to actually reading the article and stopping the rambling. Chick-fil-A to end donations to groups that oppose gay and transgender rights. Chick-fil-A will stop giving money to organizations that are against gay and transgender rights. So this kind of does give the implication that it is a legal battle, that these organizations are going against gays and transgenders in the legal battle of things, not just the philosophical debate of morality, but they're also trying to make it illegal at the same time, is what it almost seems like here. So if they really did end their donations, well then it makes it all the better that in my opinion anyways, that they ended their donations. Excuse me. The change will begin next year and is part of a complete restructuring of the chicken chain's charitable arm of the company, the Chick-fil-A Foundation. Tim Tesopoulos, Tim Tesopoulos, Chick-fil-A president and chief operating officer, told BizNow that as the company expands, he wants to clarify its beliefs. There's no question we know that as we go into new markets, we need to be clear about who we are, Tesopoulos said. There are lots of articles and newscasts about Chick-fil-A, and we thought we needed to be clear about our message. All right. So I'm like sitting on the edge of my seat here. What is he going to say? Is he going to say that, hey, we think that government shouldn't be in the business of marriage? Because if that's what he's trying to build up for, well, then applause. The change includes ending donations to organizations such as the Salvation Army. Really? Salvation Army was against legalizing gay marriage and transgenderism? Wow. I didn't know that. Fellowship of Christian Athletes and the Paul Anderson Youth Home. Instead of sending money to more than 300 different charitable groups, as it currently does, the philanthropic arm of the company will instead focus on 3 different categories of initiatives: education, homelessness, and hunger. That is interesting. Instead, focus on 3 different categories of initiatives. That almost seems to give off the implication, kind of, that they don't intend to renew their donations to the anti-LGBT groups. If this is really true, if my implication I'm getting from here is correct, well then I applaud Chick-fil-A as a libertarian. I think that it would be in Chick-fil-A's best interest to take a libertarian stance when it comes to marriage and, transgenderism, and donate to an accompanying charity associated with each. The Chick-fil-A Foundation plans to give about $9 million to those organizations next year, including $25,000 to a local food bank each time the company opens a new restaurant. Cool. This provides more focus and more clarity, Tesopoulos said. We think education, hunger, and homelessness are critical issues in communities where we do business in the U.S. Chick-fil-A's CEO, Dan Cathy, has spoken against gay marriage in the past. The company, which is known for closing its restaurants on Sundays, was also criticized by gay rights activists after the foundation donated more than $1.8 million to groups such as the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, whose statement of faith says that marriage is exclusively the union of one man and one woman. Future partners may be either religious or non-religious organizations, but the company said it would not make donations to organizations that have anti-gay positions. I don't think I need any clearer of an implication than that right there, folks. It seems that Chick-fil-A is becoming more of the Ben Shapiro position of get government out of marriage. Congratulations, Chick-fil-A. When there is okay, and obviously there's a whole lot more than there is a whole lot more to libertarianism than just gay and LGBT issues in general. But for that, you get the LGBT stamp of approval on this issue, anyways. When there is a tension, we want to make sure we're being clear. We think this is going to be helpful, Tesopoulos added. It's just the right thing to do, to be clear, caring, and supportive, and do it in the community. The Washington Examiner reached out to Chick-fil-A for comment, but did not immediately receive a response. I don't see what Chick-fil-A has to really be afraid of, but whatever. Anyway, I'm falling behind in the chat. Let's see what is going on here. I have to go. Good night. See you later. See you later, Neil Stone. And I don't like what Chick-fil-A is doing. Yeah, I'm bisexual, so this affects. But I'm also libertarian, so I have to prioritize, says Neil Stone. Okay. I don't know what you mean that. The Salvation Army believes that the government is established by God. They can go straight to hell. Harsh words, too harsh of words, Pumpkin Row. I do not condone any kind of judgment on whether or not a person or anything is like, well, okay, whether or not a person, especially on this mild of an issue, is going to heaven or hell. Now, if you want to say that a pedophile is going to hell, well then, I'm going to get that thought in the back of my head. Yeah, they probably are going to end up in hell, most likely, especially if they're unapologetic about it. But an issue like this, I cannot condone such a comment of saying they can go to hell or whatever, or they are going to go to hell or whatever else have you. Any kind of judgment on their salvation. Okay. Um, their website also seems to say nothing regarding homosexuals as Pumpkin Roll. I think he's referring to Chick-fil-A, the business, right there in what he said. But anyway, continuing on, and Loudmouth still hasn't rejoined us, so that is a shame, but hopefully he will join us. And you know what? I just remembered something. Since Loudmouth isn't going to join on, or anyone else for that matter, and we're moving on from the Chick-fil-A issue, I'm going to read the chat comment from Lonely Wolf. He says, I've never given a shit about Chick-fil-A sandwiches. It's chicken. You can't taste queer politics. I find that to be a funny comment right there because it's kind of a reference to Clerks 2, the one clip of where that the one black customer was all like to her wife, honey, you can't taste racism. that was pretty funny. That whole skit right there in Clerks 2 was pretty funny. And you know what? I really ought to watch Clerks 2. I ought to watch both of the Clerks sometime. But another day, perhaps another day. Alright. So. No, I was referring to the Salvation Army. Okay, thanks for the clarification, Pumpkin Roll. I also sent you a link to the Salvation Army's website. They have a section specifying their position on political topics. Okay? Excuse me. So, we're going to continue on as we're talking about how Biden is apparently anti-marijuana legalization. Biden bucks 2020 frontrunners by opposing marijuana legalization. Being a freaking normie boomer he is right there. Las Vegas, Nevada. Joe Biden said he differs from his Democratic 2020 rivals by not backing the legalization of marijuana. Boo! Saying the scientific community doesn't know enough about whether it serves as a gateway drug, quote unquote, to more dangerous substances. Now, honestly, in my opinion, I don't think it really matters as to whether or not it's a gateway drug. I mean, I think that ultimately, all drugs should be decriminalized. Heroin, crack, nuts, do not know how much of an opinion I have about bath salts, as I hear that people like inherently and consistently go on violent, violent lashes and just get violent in general with bath salts. But even then, I guess, despite the dangerous precedent of that, I think with the common citizen, that is like a let's cross that bridge when we come to it kind of issue. If they are going to get violent, well then that's when we do something. Otherwise, taking the bath salts themselves, maybe government shouldn't get involved on that one as well. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting a little bit rambly and monotone right now. But I don't think it really matters whether or not that this is going to lead to them taking more drugs. Because ultimately, yeah, all drugs should be decriminalized in my opinion. The truth of the matter is, there's not nearly been enough evidence that has been acquired as to whether or not it is a gateway drug. So what? The former vice president said in Las Vegas on Saturday at a campaign event, "It's a debate and I want a lot more information before I legalize it nationally." Well, for one thing, you can't really constitutionally have it legalized nationally. That is up to the states, sir. If you want to legalize marijuana, well then go back to, oh man, what state was it that Joe Biden was from before he became vice president? I don't think it was Illinois. I don't think he was from Illinois like Obama was. Was it Vermont? I forget. Go back to your home state, become a state senator or state legislator of some kind, and try to decriminalize it there. Well, actually, for how old you are, just get out of politics in general, for crying out loud. You're getting too old. You should be in retirement, Biden. But even if you were to become president, you do not have the constitutionality, the constitutional jurisdiction to be infringing on all 50 states' powers and saying you are to legalize it whether you like it or not. I want to make sure we know a lot more about the science behind it. Biden, 76, see, there's his age popped up right there. That is definitely retiring age right there. Said that although he opposes legalization, he does favor federally reclassifying the drug to help offenders avoid jail time. Okay, so it's a little bit more nuanced, his position almost seems, but nonetheless, he does favor federally reclassifying the drug to help offenders avoid jail time. So what? Instead, they're to do community service or something like that? Well, whatever the punishment be, even if the punishment ultimately is not jail time, Mr. Biden, I say fuck off with the government punishment when it comes to taking weed. It should not be a crime, he said. Anyone who has ever been convicted of using marijuana and put in jail, they should immediately be released. Their record should immediately be expunged. Okay. So I'm going to have to probably somewhat retract some of what I was saying there, because I was getting let off with the implication there that Joe Biden was against decriminalization, not just legalization, but against decriminalization of marijuana. But he's saying right there it should not be a crime. So, oh man. The article leading off with kind of an almost clickbaity type title there. You kind of boo-booed right there, Washington Examiner. But anyway, although Biden said marijuana possession should not be a crime, he said he supported a civil penalty. Okay. He said he supported a civil penalty to the extent that it exists in states. Okay, we have Loudmouth Reviews back on with us.
Hey.
Oh, I can hear you a lot better right now.
Okay, great.
And by the way, I want to read something very quickly. It was from Lonely Wolf, and it was about the Chick-fil-A issue. Lonely Wolf said, "I've never given a shit about Chick-fil-A sandwiches. It's chicken. You can't taste queer politics." Does it make you think of any movies, Loudmouth?
You can't taste queer politics. Shit.
Honey, you can't taste racism?
What's that from?
Clerks 2.
Oh, shit, yeah. I haven't seen that movie in so long.
I haven't seen the movie at all, but I have seen the one clip of where that, the one clerk right there, I cannot remember his name, is just spouting off a whole bunch of racist slurs, and he's just pissing everyone off, and at the same time, it's just a funny moment right there. I saw
Clerks too. It wasn't as good as the first Clerks.
I'll have to see them both sometime.
The first Clerks is, well, it has the single greatest line in any movie about halfway through. When Randall says, "This job would be great if it wasn't for the fucking customers." I love that line so much because anyone who's worked in customer service can totally relate.
Although Biden said marijuana possession should not be a crime, he said he supported a civil penalty to the extent that it exists in states that don't choose to legalize. And nationally, I'm not prepared to push for legalization. Medical marijuana, yes, but the legalization of marijuana for recreational use, in fact, that's one that I need more data to make that judgment, says Biden. If you're ignorant on the subject, well then just let off. Just have a hands-off approach on it, Biden. And I say people shouldn't be punished in general. Even a civil penalty, it should not be put upon them just for smoking pot, man.
Yeah, that's totally Squaresville.
Yeah, by the way, just to kind of rewind back to the title of this article, Biden bucks 2020 frontrunners by opposing marijuana legalization.
Stupid.
Yep. It's not only a stupid move on a libertarian aspect of things, but it's also kind of a stupid move on a political sense too, because already it's like the majority of the country approves of marijuana decriminalization. I mean, I think it's like something over 60% nationally, if I'm correct.
I do
Yeah,
believe Democrats are slightly more likely to favor legalization than Republicans.
exactly.
Yeah,
Democrats
that's kind
once.
of one of the areas where I lean kind of leftward, even though it's more of a libertarian position. But yeah,
Second try. Bye. Anyway, sorry everybody for the awkwardness right there. I could not mute everything in a decent time because I have like two things I would have to mute, both the StreamYard browser and the OBS Studio streamer. But yeah, that was like one of my roommates, I guess you could suffice to say. But anyway, wasn't paying much attention there, so excuse me on that part, loudmouth.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, even with Democrats, it's even more of an exasperation on this guy's political endeavors, on his political ambitions, because he's made it less likely that he'll become the presidential nominee by opposing marijuana legalization. Like you said, even a higher majority, someone could say the supermajority of Democrat voters support marijuana legalization, or at least decriminalization.
yeah. It's total bullshit because the last couple of Democrat presidents were former potheads.
Right. And apparently I was given like
Though Bill Clinton claimed he didn't inhale.
apparently I was given a rum shot he just threw at me. Okay.
Yeah, that shows also when people say that, oh, if you smoke pot, you'll never amount to anything in life. Just show the number of presidents of the United States who were former potheads. That's the ultimate refutation of that.
Loudmouth on the internet roasting politicians on strike force, y'all.
Yes.
Um,
There's an old photo of Obama in his early 20s smoking a joint. But, yeah, what could he possibly have amounted to doing shit like that? Oh, yeah.
funny stuff. Among the top crop of Democratic presidential candidates, only Biden has declined to endorse a federal legalization plan. And like I said earlier, he doesn't have the constitutionality to do that. But anyway, I digress. Last month, South Bend, Indiana, Mayor Pete Buttigieg admitted to using the drug several times in the past and called criminalization of the drug a failure. Yeah, there's this guy smoked pot once, and look what he became, a city mayor.
Yes.
And I'm not so sure if the law works exactly.
I don't know. I saw this very informative informational film called Reefer Madness, and it really convinced me otherwise when it came to marijuana. I realized that marijuana is actually something Satan puts out there in order to ensnare us into hell.
Oh.
I don't know if you got that joke. If you ever saw Reefer Madness.
No, I have not. Honestly,
it was a propaganda film from the 30s that vilified marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
It's known for being really over the top and really inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
That's the joke I was trying to make.
Yeah, sorry, I wouldn't have gotten it because I never seen that particular ad. But yeah, and I don't know if the policy is the same for like local positions as it is for federal positions. But that guy has his salary for life. Well, I know that for presidents and congressmen, that they get their salary for the rest of their life after they've retired from their position, but I do not know if it's the exact same for the mayor. But if it is the same for the mayor, that guy has like a lifelong mayor salary now.
Well, I don't believe when it comes to presidents, that they get their salary for life, but they do get lifetime security, which I think is complete fucking bullshit because pretty much everyone who's president can afford to pay for their own fucking security. As far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, after they're out of office, it really should be up to them. It shouldn't be on the dole of the taxpayers.
Yeah, and I think
Obama's a multimillionaire, all right, and Trump obviously is a billionaire. So there's no reason why taxpayers, after they're out of office, should pay for their security.
I'll drink to that one, loudmouth.
Yeah, you can afford to pay it yourself, assholes. God.
Yeah, and I don't think that federal politicians should be getting as high salaries as they do. At most, I think they should get 75 or 100K a year, but not 250 or 400K a year. Like, geez.
Well, Trump doesn't take a salary. He actually forgoes his salary.
That's
He's a billionaire, so he can afford to do that.
Yeah. Anyway, both Senators Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Bernie Sanders of Vermont have outlined plans of their own to legalize the drug, with Sanders making the issue one of the central messages of his campaign. Yet the topic of substance abuse remains a sensitive one for Biden. His son, Hunter Biden, has struggled with addiction for decades, starting with heavy drinking and narcotics using his time at Georgetown University in the early 1990s.
Heavy drinking. So is he for bringing back prohibition then?
Yeah, that's a weird that's a weird flow in conversation right there that they're showing here. Yeah, that's a weird flow in logic. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And
kind of. I cannot think of a single good argument for why the fuck alcohol is legal but marijuana is not. It makes no fucking sense.
Yep.
I mean, who would you feel more safe to be in a car with? Someone who is shit faced drunk or someone who is high as a kite on marijuana? Come on.
Yep. And correct me if I'm wrong, but last
Not that
I
either
checked,
is a good idea to be driving with, but I'm saying the drunk guy would do much worse.
Right. Right. I like showed a study on that. Like, have you seen my response video to Mark Levin, by the way?
No, I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Oh, well, in that video, I linked a study that I referenced very quickly as to how that marijuana does inhibit on people's senses considerably less than alcohol does. So that is a thing.
Yeah, Mark Levin, I agree with him on a lot of stuff, and he seems like a smart guy most of the time, but on marijuana, he sounds horribly ill-informed.
Yeah, I just listen to the guy as a source of authority mostly when it comes to constitutionalism and excuse me.
Yeah, he knows his stuff on those
history
matters, no
and
doubt.
how government is at least supposed to work according to the Constitution. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy in that video he was explaining as to how government, according to the Constitution, could ban weed, but just because that the Constitution says that politicians could legislate against weed doesn't mean that they should legislate against weed. And
Exactly.
he didn't outright say that it should be banned, but he was kind of giving the implication that maybe it should be banned or something, or nothing should be done about the issue of marijuana at all. I mean, this is the biggest reason as to why that I probably like Ben Shapiro nowadays a little bit better than Mark Levin, because Ben Shapiro has come out and say, quote, I am a libertarian on marijuana, unquote, saying that he wants to decriminalize it and he wants the government out of marriage. I haven't heard any statement from Mark directly talking about marriage, how he wants that issue handled.
Honestly, when it came to that marriage equality, I really don't give a shit too much, but I would have preferred it be legalized at the state level, state by state, rather than as it was through the Supreme Court like that. But it doesn't matter much.
And it doesn't matter that much to me either. I mean, I would have preferred that it was taken a different route, but ultimately I don't want to revisit the topic. It's already been settled in 2015.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's a settled topic. I don't really give a shit.
Anyway, by 2016, the younger Biden. One thing that I wanted to say very quickly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but last I checked, marijuana isn't technically a narcotic. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't believe so. No.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never smoked the stuff, so I really don't know its full effects.
Yeah, I mean,
not for like moral reasons, because I think it's a bad thing to do so, but because I know there are so many jobs out there that'll test you if it's in your system, will give you a job. So I don't want to risk losing an employment opportunity over it. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm. Right. By 2016, the younger Biden was regularly buying crack cocaine from homeless people in both Los Angeles, California, and Washington, D.C. See, you kind of. Okay. I'm not blaming Washington Examiner for this, but you shifted, or at least the logic that they're presenting to Biden. Biden's logic has shifted from talking about and focusing on marijuana, a drug with some positive outcomes, to talking about crack cocaine, which arguably has almost no positive outcomes, no pros to it, I would say. I mean, that doesn't mean that I think that the government should ban it, but yeah, I mean, cocaine and marijuana, two different birds there.
Yeah, very, very, very different.
After multiple stints in
Cocaine,
rehab,
cocaine, heroin, and meth and shit. Those ones can really fuck you up. Marijuana, not so much.
yeah, I went to. Well, people have already heard my drug position. I've explained it in the past. I'm not going to go over it again, otherwise I'll get rambly. Anyway, after multiple stints in rehab, he has reportedly remained sober after his marriage to South African Melissa Cohen, who he married in June. End of that article right there. So, Biden is officially a squish when it comes to weed. How unfortunate for the Democrats if they were to get him as their
odd
nominee.
because
What?
he sounds high as a kite most of the time.
Oh yeah, kind of does. So all right, this isn't too long an article. It mostly just looks long just because of how that they're showing tweets in between paragraphs here. But this is from the Washington Examiner. Police shoot man dead who killed two in terrorist knife attack on London Bridge. Have you heard about this particular terrorist
Yeah, I
attack?
did hear about that one.
Yeah, I've heard about it, but I haven't researched at all about it. So, and I just came across this article, I think, on Twitter or something like that, or actually, my phone notified me of it, and so I thought, be an interesting read for Strike Force. So, gunshots have been fired on the London Bridge while London's Metropolitan Police Service announced that officers were in the early stages of dealing with an incident at London Bridge. 5 people were injured by a man wielding a knife who was later shot and killed by armed police officers on the bridge, which had been evacuated. A Metropolitan Police spokesman said police were called at 1:58 p.m. to a stabbing at premises near to London Bridge. London Bridge. Emergency services attended, including officers from the Met and Met or whatever, and City of London Police. A man has been detained by police. We believe a number of people have been injured. Further info to follow. So, another reason as to why that I kind of wanted to show this story right here is because it is an anecdotal story as to, police actually doing their jobs. Like, police fuck up a lot, yeah, obviously, but the good stories of police actually doing their freaking jobs, or what people would wish police would do, don't get highlighted enough. So that's kind of the biggest reason as to why I wanted to read this one right here. And hello, Cat Chat in the chat. So, police are categorizing the attack as a terror-related incident, which left 2 civilians dead, according to the BBC. However, they are unclear about the attacker's motivation. The attacker also wore a hoax explosive vest. Okay. This is kind of weird to me. I don't know about you, Loudmouth.
I thought I heard that he was like released from prison on earlier terrorism charges, wasn't it?
I don't know. I mean, if that's true, well then, UK government kind of fucking up in that part.
Yeah, they
right
kind
there.
of fucked that one up, didn't they? Good idea there.
I mean, especially if the guy had killed somebody, he should have been like kept for life or something at least, if not executed. But this is kind of weird to me. I do not know about you, Loudmouth, but they are basically calling this a terror attack before they know the attacker's motivation. I mean, if the attacker's motivation are not political, then it ultimately is not a terror-related incident. It's not terrorism. So
Nope, that is true.
they're putting the cart before the horse right here, it seems like.
That is the very definition of a terrorist attack. That's what distinguishes a terrorist attack from an ordinary everyday act of violence.
And yet they're calling it a politically revolved attack, terrorist attack, before they know the politics of this guy, the possible political motivation, if there even is a political motivation to this guy. I tell you what, people just like to throw out the term terrorism, just rather hyperbolically almost, I'll say. I mean, my opinion on terrorism and the definition of it has kind of evolved over the last 2 years. But anyway, BBC correspondent John McManus said that he heard several shots fired on the bridge. Just a few minutes ago, I was walking across London Bridge on the south bank to the north bank of the bridge, he said. There appeared to be a fight going on the other side of the bridge, with several men attacking one man. Police then quickly arrived, including including armed police, if I can read, and then a number of shots were fired at this man. London Mayor Sadiq Khan released a statement saying, in part, the Metropolitan Police have confirmed that as a precaution, the horrendous incident at London Bridge is being treated as though it's terrorism related. Excuse me. Bit of typos in that statement right there on Washington Examiner's part. White House Deputy Press Secretary Judd Deere tweeted, President Trump has been briefed on this morning's attack on the London Bridge and is monitoring the situation. The United States strongly condemns all horrific acts of violence on innocent people, and we pledge our full support to our ally, the United Kingdom. He added, we must and we will stay resolute in our determination to stand strong and united in the face of terror. Those who seek to attack us and divide us will never succeed, while also noting that the bridge remains closed.
Yep.
I don't know of how badly they need to close the bridge personally, but that's
there was a few shootings on the news. There was a terror attack at a Navy base by a Saudi national. They shot him dead. It was on the news today. And supposedly that was definitely terrorism related, as in they had some writings by the guy where he established political motivations.
Right.
There was a shooting at Pearl Harbor, and I'm not sure if that one was politically motivated.
So Cat Chat.
I know the last time somebody shot at Pearl Harbor, it didn't go well for the people who did it.
Wait a minute, what about Pearl Harbor?
There was a shooting there last week.
No, I didn't hear
Pearl Harbor
that one.
Navy base.
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think they know what the motive is. I'm just saying the last time somebody shot up Pearl Harbor prior, it didn't go well for them.
So Cat Chat says in the chat, that leap they jumped to, I think, beat the current Olympic record, she says, referring to what I was pointing out there and then putting the cart before the horse regarding defining this as terrorism. The incident comes more than 2 years after the 2017 terrorist attack, which saw 3 men kill 8 people and injure 48 others on the London Bridge. I don't know if they'd be referring to the acid attacks or not, or I don't know. Apparently that's pretty much the end of the article. Well, we'll read some of these tweets actually from different officials. Metropolitan Police were called at 1:58 p.m. to a stabbing at premises near to London Bridge. Emergency services attended, including officers from the Met and City Police. A man has been detained by police. We believe a number of people have been injured. Further info to follow. So this is kind of is what's confusing me here. Did they end up killing the guy after they tried to detain him, but he escaped as soon as when he was detained? And then they shot him trying to get him back or something and killed him? Or, I don't know. I'm just a bit confused with the flow of the conversation here.
Yeah, I haven't read all the details, so I'm not sure.
MPS events. We are in the early stages of dealing with an incident at London Bridge. Please follow Met Police UK for updates, blah, 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 blah.
Wonderful.
The alleged attacker has now been shot. Skymark White as the latest on the alleged London Bridge attack. So this one's saying that the alleged attacker has been shot 8:34 a.m. November 29th and 8:50 p.m. November 29th. He's been detained. A guy was shot dead, according to Washington Examiner, though, so I don't know. Maybe the guy ultimately died when he was detained. I'm not absolute certain, and I'm not going to ponder it too much for right now. For right now, impeachment news. Trump impeachment news. So, you have any particular opinions about this latest impeachment hearing? These latest impeachment news, Loudmouth?
I think that this will backfire on the Democrats in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll go too well.
House investigating if Trump. Okay, this is kind of an old article right here, November 18th, 2019. But just recently, they are trying to start the impeachment hearings. So, I guess they are going to try to take their investigations out onto Trump as of right now, which we'll get to that in a bit with this Hill article after we finish this Washington Examiner article. And then that'll be the end of the episode. House investigating if Trump lied to Mueller in written testimony. The House of Representatives General Counsel said that the body is now investigating whether President Trump lied to former special counsel Robert Mueller in written answers related to the investigation into Russian election interference. My question is, then what would it have been that Trump exactly lied about? Counsel Douglas Letter told the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia on Monday that the House is requesting access to grand jury material that Mueller gathered during his 22-month investigation into the 2016 presidential election. Did the president lie? Was the president not truthful in his responses to the Mueller investigation? Letter asked the court. Former Trump associate Roger Stone, Roger Stone can go fuck himself with a broomstick, was the latest to be convicted of crimes stemming from Mueller's investigation. Testifying in the D.C. District Court case against Stone last week, former Trump campaign official Rick Gates said then candidate Trump told him more information would be coming from WikiLeaks after Trump had a late July 2016 call with Stone. Okay. I just got to say this right now, and I do not know if I could stress this enough, because this has been kind of an ongoing thing within regards of Trump conspiracies and alleged Trump-Russia collusion and whatnot, is the whole guilt by association thing. Whatever it is that Roger Stone, or even that his son did in regards to Russian government, that is not, if what they were to do would be considered illegal for during an election for a presidential candidate or while they're in office or whatever, that Trump is not responsible for that. Roger Stone is responsible for Roger Stone, unless Trump actually gave the order to Roger Stone to actually
that was
do
what I was
something.
going to say. Unless Trump ordered him to do it, unless there's evidence that he did, then he would be responsible.
Yeah, exactly. But until then, this is just guilt by association. I don't think that Trump should be really associating with Roger Stone, the guy who ran the National Enquirer that did a big old smear and borderline slanderous, smear campaign on the Cruz family for a while. More specifically, Cruz Sr., Rafael Cruz Sr.
Yeah, that's still, to this day, years later, I still can't get over what a jackass the man elected president was right there. That was just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's kind of...
Yeah, sure, Rafael Cruz was assisted in the Kennedy assassination. He also probably sank the Titanic. and he was responsible for the Hindenburg disaster. And I heard he sacked Rome in the 6th century AD.
Yeah, Rafael Cruz Sr., I heard that he was an associate in helping 9/11 too.
Yes, he was responsible for 9/11, the sinking of the Titanic, the sacking of Rome, and pretty much you name it. Right, Rafael Cruz was responsible.
And he was
why not, right?
He was a very young kid at this too, but I hear also that he was apparently a fighter pilot for the Pearl Harbor attack.
Yes, I heard that as well. I hear he was. He's an immortal vampire. He's been everywhere.
But anyway, on a serious note, though, yeah, for the longest time during the Republican primaries, I was regrettably too much of a suck up to Trump. But as soon as like Trump started attacking Cruz unfairly, that's when my doubts against Trump.
I never really liked Trump, and to this day, I don't.
Yeah, and more power to
I've
you.
always
And
seen, I've always seen him as a pompous, lying windbag.
yeah,
That's why, even though I hate the Democrats more, I don't feel much sympathy for him going through all this. Because
I
it seems like he brought all this on himself by being an idiot.
I do gotta say that I did think when I originally heard his announcement speech for a presidential election, I thought he was being too much of a inarticulate jackass, and with his wording, he was sounding racist and all that shit. Even right then, but I still considered him to be a high option for voting for president, or at least my opinion right then during the Republican primary. But when the later days of the primary began, that's when my doubts really started coming out about Trump. And the general election didn't help that at all. In fact, might have arguably made it worse. But anyway, Gates described a car ride with two Secret Service members from Trump Tower to a waiting airplane at LaGuardia Airport with the future president a few days after the release of thousands of Democratic emails by WikiLeaks. He told the jury that he could tell from the incoming number that Stone had called Trump, and that he could hear Stone's voice but did not hear what was being said by Stone during the call. Gates testified that when the call ended, Trump then indicated that more information would be coming from WikiLeaks. Mueller's team asked Trump in 2018, okay, I also want to say that Trump is not responsible for WikiLeaks as well. I mean, I'm not even so sure of how connected WikiLeaks would be to Russia. I mean, that's kind of primarily what the Mueller investigation was about, was Russia. So, trying to bring up WikiLeaks into the story right here. As far as I'm concerned, the WikiLeaks ties to Russia haven't been really substantiated enough for me to fully, objectively believe them. But anyway, Mueller's team asked Trump in 2018 if he could recall Stone or any other campaign associates having any discussions directly or indirectly with WikiLeaks regarding the content or timing of release of hacked emails. Now, obviously, they are hackers, and but as far as them like directly being technically associates or working with Russia, I don't know about that. Just to clarify, I do not recall being told during the campaign that Roger Stone or anyone associated with my campaign had discussions with any of the entities named in the question regarding the content or timing of release of hacked emails, Trump responded. Mueller also asked Trump whether Stone ever discussed WikiLeaks with him or with anyone else associated with the campaign, and whether Stone informed Trump about contacts he had with WikiLeaks or any intermediary of WikiLeaks, or about forthcoming releases of information. But Trump dodged the question and said he didn't remember. Okay? Well, saying that a person doesn't remember, I don't exactly consider that a dodge, but whatever. I spoke by telephone with Roger Stone from time to time during the campaign, Trump told Mueller. I have no recollection of the specifics of any conversations I had with Mr. Stone between June 1st, 2016 and November 8, 2016. I do not recall discussing WikiLeaks with him, nor do I recall being aware of Mr. Stone having discussed WikiLeaks with individuals associated with my campaign. The Trump campaign viewed Stone as their access point to WikiLeaks, and founder Julian Assange in their hunt for information to hurt Hillary Clinton. Former Trump campaign CEO Steve Bannon testified during Stone's trial. I think it was generally believed. Now, okay, as far as I know, Trump using whatever. I mean, I guess it would like technically depend on what kind of dirt it is, but as far as I know, using whatever dirt that you can on a political rival in a campaign, that isn't technically against U.S. law, as far as I know, unless you want to correct me if I'm wrong in that, loudmouth.
No, it's not. It's definitely not against the law to use dirt. If it were, then campaigning would be illegal.
I mean, even Trump exploiting the former,
I mean, yeah, like Hillary Clinton used a lot of dirt on Trump, but Trump still won despite it.
right. So,
We all remember the Access Hollywood tape.
I mean, even Trump trying to exploit Heidi Cruz, Ted Cruz's wife, formerly working for Goldman Sachs, as far as I know, isn't technically illegal. I mean, it's dirty.
No, it's not illegal
it's
at all.
unfair, but still. And by that extension, I apply the same rule to Hillary Clinton. I mean, it may, unless if somebody was to like show me of what exactly he did, and kind of show me otherwise, trying to change my opinion on this. As far as I know, it's not illegal. I mean, well, whatever. I'm getting lost in my words. Let's just continue. The Trump campaign viewed Stone as their access point to WikiLeaks. No, I've already read that paragraph. I think it was generally believed that the access point, or the potential access point to WikiLeaks, was Roger Stone, Bannon said. The campaign had no official access to WikiLeaks or Julian Assange, but Roger would be viewed as an access point because Roger told me he had a relationship with WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. Mueller's report found no evidence that Trump conspired with Russia during the election. The former special counsel declined to decide whether Trump obstructed justice despite laying out 10 possible scenarios in his report. Okay? So, purely, this isn't technically about Russia because, as they say, Mueller's report didn't find any evidence about Trump colluding with Russia during the election. It's just plainly about.
Yeah, it annoyed me like hell when he said we can't find any evidence to, let's say, the president didn't commit a crime. I'm like, that's not how it works. You need to find positive evidence he committed a crime. Just because you can't prove he didn't commit a crime, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, like, it can't be disproven that you raped a sheep last week, so I can assume you did.
Did you say rape a sheep?
Yes, rape a sheep.
Oh, jeez.
So I can't disprove that you did it last week, so I'm going to assume you did.
Cat Chat says in the chat, impeaches and cream. Realizes that isn't cream. That's gross, yes. Cat Chat.
Right.
Anyway.
Making dirty humor, but I'm saying you can assert whatever you want about somebody, and the burden is not on them to disprove your accusation. The burden is on you to prove it.
Yep. We have a bit of a slow chat right now, as it is. I guess that's what I get for choosing kind of a late hour to do this news stream.
Yeah. Well, if it wasn't at a late hour, I wouldn't have been here because I didn't get home till late.
Okay. Well, to all those people who are like looking at this episode of Strike Force in the future, hi.
Yeah.
White House. Okay, so this from the Hill. We're going to fast forward to present day. This was posted today at 4:40 p.m. by the Hill. White House tells Democrats it won't cooperate in impeachment hearings. So, this is interesting. I'm just curious as to what the actual legal precedent is that Trump should actively be cooperating with it. So, amuse me, Hill. The White House on Friday signaled it will not participate in future impeachment proceedings in the House and called on Democrats to end their impeachment inquiry. White House counsel Pat Cipollone, how do you pronounce that, wrote in a letter to the Democratic chairman of the House Judiciary Committee that it would be a reckless abuse of power for House Democrats to adopt articles of impeachment and would constitute the most unjust, highly partisan, and unconstitutional attempt at impeachment in our nation's history. I mean, yeah, there is like scant to no evidence regarding Russia collusion, and I don't know, what's your opinion on the whole Ukraine thing? Because as far as I know, there wasn't an outright request that, hey, do this for me and I'll do this for you kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all very nebulous whether it was implied or not. Because Trump didn't outright give a quid pro quo, but you could reasonably argue he implied it. So it's all in a gray area.
Yeah, and so
I don't think this was the hill the Democrats really should have died on when it came to Trump.
Yeah, especially going off an implication. Implications are kind of hard.
Yeah, it's really hard to prove that shit.
Oh, I don't even know. I don't know a specific example when it comes to an implication with me interacting with people, but I'm just going to move on. The letter did not explicitly state that the White House would not participate in any House proceedings moving forward, but gave the indication that it would not cooperate and would instead shift its focus to defending President Trump in a potential Senate trial. A senior administration official later told The Hill that the White House would not participate in future hearings in the House. We don't see any reason to participate because the process is unfair, the official said. Speaker Pelosi has already announced the predetermined result. It will not give us the ability to call any witnesses. I mean, yeah, a bit of poisoning the well if you're coming with predetermination on what you think is the case already.
Pretty much.
House Democrats have wasted enough of America's time with this charade, Chipolin wrote in Friday's one-page letter to Judiciary Chairman Gerald Nadler, Democrat of New York. One second. Some water. Cat Chat says, eats it anyway because it's sweetened condensed milk. Okay, yeah, sure it is, Cat Chat. No. Calling the impeachment inquiry completely baseless and bemoaning that Democrats had already decided to proceed with articles of impeachment. You should end this inquiry now and not waste even more time with additional hearings. Adopting articles of impeachment would be a reckless abuse of power by House Democrats and would constitute the most unjust, highly partisan, and unconstitutional attempt at impeachment in our nation's history, Chipolin wrote. It is pretty partisan, I'll agree, for like earlier mentioned reasons regarding Russia and Ukraine. He concluded by echoing Trump's own message for the House to get on with impeachment proceedings in order to advance to a Senate trial where he will likely be acquitted. Nadler had asked the White House last week to tell the panel whether it planned to participate in hearings debating potential articles of impeachment against Trump, setting a December 6th deadline for the White House to respond. The move by the White House on Friday does not come as a surprise. Chipolin earlier this week said the president's legal team would decline an invitation to take part in a hearing of constitutional law scholars that took place this past Wednesday, hammering House Democrats' process as unfair and accusing the committee of not providing enough information about the hearing or soliciting input from the White House. So this is a whole bunch of jargon and mumbo jumbo thus far, but we're like almost halfway done with the article. Nadler, in a statement, and also this article is kind of repeating itself a few times. Nadler, in a statement Friday evening, said that the American people deserve answers from President Trump and said that the White House could not claim the process to be unfair while Trump was declining an invitation to participate. We gave President Trump a fair opportunity to question witnesses and present his own to address the overwhelming evidence before us. After listening to him complain about the impeachment process, we had hoped that he might accept our invitation, Nadler said. I cannot back up as to whether that is true or not, but I don't know. If the president has no good response to the allegations, then he would not want to appear before the committee, Nadler continued. The president's failure will not prevent us from carrying out our solemn constitutional duty. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat, California. No, it's Democrat of New York. No, I'm joking. That's a reference to an episode of Strike Force of where that CNS News made a typo saying that Nancy Pelosi was from New York and not California. Dumbass mistake right there. Anyway, Pelosi on Thursday announced that Democratic committee leaders would move forward with drafting articles of impeachment. White House officials expressed frustration that the timing of the announcement preempted the administration's deadline to respond about future participation. This goes to show you this has been a sham all along. Tony Sayegh, White House aide leading messaging efforts on impeachment, said Friday on former Trump advisor Steve Bannon's radio show. Guys, a radio show? Oh, wow. The Judiciary Committee currently has just one future hearing scheduled. The panel will receive presentations of evidence on Monday from staff counsels for both parties on the House Intelligence Committee. It's unclear if there will be any additional hearings beyond Mondays. House Democrats could introduce articles of impeachment against Trump next week, eyeing a full House vote before lawmakers leave for the holiday recess. The impeachment inquiry has centered on Trump's July 25th call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, during which he asked Ukraine to investigate a debunked theory about the 2016 Democratic National Committee hack, as well as former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter's business dealings in Ukraine. Really? A debunked theory about a hack. I don't know. I'm kind of standoffish to say that it was debunked because there was a whole lot of shady shit going on with the DNC, with how they kind of screwed over Bernie during 2016, but I digress. House Democrats say that after hearing testimony from a cadre of executive branch witnesses, the evidence is clear that Trump abused his power in asking Ukraine to launch investigations that could politically benefit him. Pelosi said Thursday that Trump gave them no choice but to move forward with drafting articles of impeachment. Okay. Trump asked investigations to be put out, but was there an actual quid pro quo done there? Did he actually say, and I'll do this favor for you, or did he just do a friendly request or something? Because in that paragraph right there, there was no mention of a quid pro quo. So that seems to be a nothing burger so far in that paragraph to me. Trump has rejected claims he engaged in wrongdoing and described his conversation with Zelensky as perfect, accusing Democrats of a witch hunt aimed at damaging him ahead of the 2020 presidential election. The White House has refused to cooperate in the inquiry, blocking a handful of key witnesses from testifying and refusing to turn over documents. Democrats have signaled they're prepared to draft an article of impeachment accusing Trump of obstruction for defying congressional subpoenas. End of article. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it's constitutionally illegal for the President Trump to fire whatever official that he wants to, even if it's kind of shady on the surface, like how Trump fired Comey, I mean, if that's constitutionally illegal, well, then I don't see the technical wrongdoing in, I don't know. What's the legal precedent regarding the issue of whether or not a president was to avoid an impeachment hearing?
I'm not really sure. This is the first actual impeachment hearing of my adult life.
Because I think I heard that Clinton had completely avoided his own impeachment hearing.
I do believe so, but I'm not sure about that.
I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm getting pretty tired, so I might cut out in a few minutes.
All right. Well, that was pretty much the end of it. But just to announce to everybody, this article right here. You see it, Loudmouth?
Yeah.
Exclusive. Or, wait. Well, actually, that's not the article that I technically wanted to go reading about. But yeah, this is still kind of an important article as to why that I have such disdain for Jessica Yaniv now.
Oh, God.
Apparently,
that person.
Apparently, Yaniv is kind of in the same boat as Kai and Onision in committing, very creepy sexual shit. Borderline.
Why the
pedophilia.
fuck has YouTube not deleted Onision's channel? Why the fuck is YouTube protecting that guy?
Because they have their priorities fucked up, is why.
Small channels will get often strikes that make no fucking sense whatsoever. But a guy who preys on young girls, a doxer, a piece of shit like Onision.
Oh, he's a doxer?
That's why he was banned from Patreon. He doxed an ex of his.
Ah, okay. Yeah, and the guy likes to claim fucking victimhood for his
Yeah,
Patreon being deleted.
goddamn. That should be enough to have your YouTube channel deleted, but you can add being a doxer on top of all the other sick, fucked up shit he's done.
Yeah, and Onision supposedly says that he is like leaving YouTube. He's retiring. He's gonna get a job at McDonald's. And then
Yeah,
two videos later, he's still uploading.
Yeah, I wouldn't hire. I certainly wouldn't hire him if I was a manager at McDonald's. I mean, there are kids who walk into McDonald's.
Hey, he wasn't just going for a job at McDonald's. He was going for a supervisory job at McDonald's.
Oh yeah, so Nision's gonna manage it. He's gonna be a super businessman. I would totally want to work for that guy. Could you imagine being an underling of that guy?
Yeah. Oh, Nision, it's such an honor to be actually working for a freaking YouTube celebrity. Oh, I'm losing breath over this. Cat Chat says in the chat.
Because you see his abusive behavior to everyone around him, and his ego. He never ever admits any kind of fault in himself, which is a typical trait found among psychopaths.
Yeah, and Cat Chat says Onision wouldn't be able to get a job as a lint collector. Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's amazing because the guy at least was a millionaire, so he should have theoretically had enough money to live off up to the day he dies. But given that he's also a fucking idiot, he's probably spent most of it by now.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that wasn't really the article that I wanted to show everybody, although it is kind of
No, it's just something I wanted to bring up because it was something that was on my mind, the fact that YouTube is defending that guy. I mean, they're not defending him, but not deleting him.
No, I was trying to rewind the conversation back a little ways back to Yaniv, saying this wasn't the article that I really wanted to show. I mean, although it is important for people to know exactly what.
Oh yeah, the one where you wanted to sue his a gynecologist for not checking his penis for ovarian cancer. God damn it, this is stupid.
Actually, that wasn't even it. It was this article shared by Reckless Trucker on my Discord server from Medium.com. Jessica Yaniv is most likely just yet another alt-right troll.
Have we considered the possibility that Jessica Yaniv is actually no bullshit in drag?
Oh, wow. I'm not going to be able to get that image on my head.
Oh, man. Oh,
jeez. Oh, yeah. But, no, I'm not going to, oh, man. It's a Cat Black video, apparently, talking about Jessica Yaniv. But, yeah.
Man.
I'm going to be doing I'm not going to be reading this article tonight, but I was just wanting to show this article as kind of an announcement to everybody that up next on Strike Force I will be doing just like a quick editorial talking about, is Jessica Yaniv really just an alt-right troll? Is there a possibility that Jonathan Yaniv is actually just a dude LARPing as a trans person to possibly sabotage the trans
no,
trans
I don't think so. I think this person is likely a narcissist who loves attention and seems to have some issues with kids. So I don't think it's to sabotage the trans community. I think that's just his vehicle.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still kind of, this article still kind of brings up the conversation.
Like I don't think the motivations are political, is what I'm saying. I think they're all just selfish and personal.
Yeah, could possibly be faking as a trans person just for victim points and whatnot. But
yeah,
I mean, either way you look at it, it still kind of brings up the topic of when is a trans person faking it, and how can we tell if a trans person is faking it? Because apparently, according to some far leftists, people can just claim whatever gender the fuck they want to, and if you dare to refuse that, you're instantly a bigot. I mean, it's not even based off of any objective facts. It's just subjectivity. It's just based off of what people feel. Like one particular far leftist once said, as you said, facts over feelings, and the fact is of the matter is that people can feel how they want to feel. So basically, taking the saying facts over feelings and just twisting around to say, oh, but facts are based off of feelings. Something like that. But anyway, yeah, that's where I'm going to end it, but just stay tuned for that video when I go actually reading this article and highlighting it to bring up as to how even some leftists, like, I don't think that a right-winger would be posing the possibility that Jonathan Yaniv is an alt-right troll. Most likely this guy is left-leaning. But basically, the left apparently is eating itself on the issue of transgenderism, and more specifically, eating itself over Yaniv. Anyway, Loudmouth, you got anything to say before we go off air?
No, I'm pretty good.
All right. Some people fake transgenderism to gain an advantage or to do something horrible and not get caught or persecuted, says Cat Chat. Wouldn't disagree. But anyway, that's all that I have for this episode of Strike Force. Thank you all for joining along. I'm the Dark Conservatarian. This has been Strike Force News, and see y'all later. I got a whole bunch of content for you this week, and hopefully I'll get it done at least by Sunday evening. And I'll be interviewing S-Man, actually, at about 4 p.m. that day, Central Standard. So anyway, see y'all later. Good night, and God bless.